and popular culture.
Good morning. My name is Amber, and I'll be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Infrastructure Management Global Community Webcast, introducing CA Spectrum 10.1.1 conference call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. Mr. Kieran Walker, you may begin your conference.
Thank you, Amber. Appreciate it. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. Thanks for joining this session today. So we announced Spectrum 10.1.1 GA a couple of weeks back. We thought it would be a good opportunity to review the content of the release, and not just review it with slideware, but actually have a full-fledged real-time live demo around those capabilities as well. So my name is Kiran Diwakar. I lead the product management team within the IMBU. Along with me to help with the demo is my friend from pre-sales, Jason Brick. So between us, we'll do the presentation today. We are open to questions during the presentation and demo as well. We will have a Q&A session at the end, but if you feel you have a question that cannot wait till the end, feel free to stop us in between, and then we'll be happy to take questions. Also, at the end, there will be a poll put up on the WebEx screen. We really would like you to vote and give your rating for the session. It really helps us create content and cater content for the future presentations. So with that said, this is the content for the presentation. I know it's a lot. That's why we are going to jump into that immediately. First and foremost, 10.1.1, we are claiming support for Jaspersoft. Now, everyone on the call who's worked with CABI, which is our Boxy-based reporting solution, would have faced some or the other constraint or issue with the product for when they used it. One of our motivations with Jasper was, how do we replace this cumbersome usage of CABI with the Boxy solution, and then give a much easier, newer platform for reporting? So essentially, what CABI, rather with Box, so we are still calling it CABI, by the way. So CABI is CA Business Intelligence, which is a wrapper on the underlying reporting platform. Now, what we are doing at this point in time is we are shipping the newer version of CABI with Jaspersoft embedded into it. As part of the solution, one of the things that we are looking at is how will we deliver ease of use, a lot of additional capability that we were not able to provide with Boxy. So as some of you might know, Jasper is the newer reporting platform out there, a lot slicker, a lot of more capabilities than what we have today with Boxy. I've listed a few of the things here. I won't read into everything, but one of the things that makes it a lot more appealing to some of our services folks who've used this, tried this as part of our validation program, is the fact that you can easily schedule reports. Jason will demo that as part of his story as well. But there are a bunch of things in there that we have listed here that makes that solution a bit easier than what we have it today with Boxy. A couple of things to note here from an operational perspective. We have replaced CABI with Boxy across our portfolio with SOI, with Spectrum, with Service Desk, and some other products as well. So this replacement is at the corporate level. The way our contract is structured here with TIPCO and with support for existing customers is as following. Any customer who has procured Spectrum after 31st March 2016, meaning in this quarter, they will be entitled to only Jasper. Anyone who has Spectrum before 31st March 2016 will have entitlements for both Jasper as well as Boxy. The rationale there, the thought process that we have there is, there are some large customers who use Boxy pretty heavily with Spectrum today, and we want to give them at least 12 to 18 months lead time where they can try out Jasper and then use the new solution gradually as they move in there. As you would imagine, Spectrum has around 100 out-of-box reports that we provide in the first iteration. We were trying to get the packaging and deployment and all those things in place. In the interest of transparency, we've always been open and honest with the community. We are being open here as well. So at this point in time, Jasper has 6 out-of-box reports, the 6 categories of out-of-box reports, I should say, that we are supporting with Spectrum 10.1.1. We are working with our central CABI team, the Jasper team within CA, and we are going to churn out more reports every month in the coming months. And our goal is that in the coming quarter or two, we get with the same number of reports out-of-box that we have today with Boxy. Plus, ad hoc reporting, today we have the availability domain available for doing out-of-box reporting, for doing ad hoc reporting as well. There are a couple of things, again, this is in the interest of being open and honest, transparent. Today, in the first iteration, we do not support direct migration of reports from Boxy to Jaspersoft. Multi-tenancy, a few other things that I see here, they are something that we don't support in phase 1. So existing customers, we would still encourage you to try, use Jasper, give us some feedback, things that you think we are missing in there from a usability perspective, from a workflow perspective. And as we add more reports and as it becomes more and more relevant from your reporting perspective in your environment, we'll make sure some of those things are incorporated as well. So with that, what I'll do is I'm going to turn it over to Jason. I'm going to make him the presenter so that he can do a demo of Jasper with Spectrum. Jason, all yours.
Perfect. Thanks, Kieran. So what I have up here is Spectrum 10.1.1. So this is the web console, as you're familiar with, and up at the top you're going to see just an additional tab for the Jasper console. So I go ahead and click on the Jasper console. Like Kieran mentioned, in phase 1, there's no single sign-on between there, so you have to authenticate within the Jasper reporting as well. As long as I typed that incorrectly. Oh, and I did not. All right, here we go. Well, so from here, as you can see, just a better look and feel than we had within the CABI reporting altogether. To get to the reports, you would go to View, Repository. On that last screen, it did show based off my user ID what my last reports ran in there. So I have common ones that I'm running. Those are going to stick within my main home screen, so I can go ahead and quickly access those. From here, when this builds out, you'll have your Spectrum folder, and then underneath Capability, underneath Reports, you're going to have the All Reports, Reports and Field on Capability, Group, and Individual Reports. Similar to what we had before within the CABI-based reporting. Just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to do a top-end most common alarm. I can go ahead and click on that, or if I right-click on this alarm, like Kieran mentioned, I could just simply schedule it, right? So I can go ahead and set this in right from the console, right off that report, go ahead, right-click, select Schedule, and then I'll be prompted here in just a second for my scheduling options. Oops, create my schedule. And then I can specify, the time immediately, specific date, or any reoccurrence that I want to have within there, right? So very easy, very intuitive to go ahead and set the schedule within the individual report within Jasper. Oops, it would help if I didn't close that out. So let me go ahead and log back in. If I go back to the repository, and click on this report, you're going to see a similar look and feel in terms of options, right? So it's not a whole new reporting structure from a usability standpoint. Very similar in terms of the predefined time ranges, the types of events that we want to pick, if I want to do top end or any more, my report titles, et cetera. So it's not a huge learning curve once moving over to Jasper. Again, here, just for simplicity, I'm going to keep this to the previous day's time frame and select the defaults. But again, I can select different time periods, select my titles. If I want to include or exclude certain alarm titles within there, I can go ahead and do that. In this instance, I'm just going to show all. And voila, right? So similar to what we've seen before within Spectrum, here's the most common alarms within there. I can see each of these here, the frequency per day, and then I can also even drill down, right, for additional information, alarm details within there. And then even from the alarm details, I can drill into the, individual details or occurrences of each one of those alarms within the environment. And that's it. Kerry, I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to you.
Yep. Awesome. Yep. That was great, Jason. Thanks so much. So as we said, we are going to keep continuously adding new reports to Jasper. As I said, we are working very aggressively to do that, and we expect that in a couple of months we'll have a lot of more out-of-box reports out there. The next topic, and one of the more talked about topic, is the Spectrum UIM integration. What we wanted to do with this was at least just want to give a brief perspective on what it is, because I know there's a lot of discussion and talks about the bidirectional workflows, but at the same time, we have spent a lot of effort and energy fixing some of the existing use cases with the current integration with servers and virtualization. So today, in the current integration that we already have GA for the last 12 to 18 months, we get the UIM inventory into Spectrum, and then Spectrum does its typical magic on that inventory with root cause, topology, and all that stuff. There were a bunch of scenarios that needed a bit of tightening. We worked with some of the customers out there, and we've resolved those reconciliation scenarios and some of the deletion scenarios. We'll talk about that. Obviously, the more exciting feature that we have is the bidirectional workflow. The idea there is to be able to allow users to complement the capabilities of two tools, UIM and Spectrum, and then use either console for their operations. So this is what we have with the existing integration. I just wanted to recap that, right? I mean, this is already GA since the last couple of months, since 9.4.9.4.1, 12 to 18 months. What Spectrum does, it gets the VM or the host inventory from UIM. It then creates the L2 connections. It creates the topology. It shows the alarms. It does root cause analysis, alarm suppression, all that good stuff. The information is being sent from UIM to Spectrum. So we use UIM as a data source, as an agent to collect that information in this current integration. I won't read through this, but these are some of the key use cases or scenarios where we have tightened this integration, where the reconciliation of some of the virtual entities coming in from UIM, some of the deletion scenarios, how do we reconcile that? So there are those use cases. We've documented this very well in the documentation as well, but we spent a lot of effort tightening this existing integration as well. What we have added is the next set of things that we'll talk about quickly. So first and foremost, we've talked about this in the past as well, that Spectrum is going to be the root cause analysis engine within the portfolio. No other tool is going to do that. We are not going to rewrite that. We're not going to port that, nothing. Spectrum is going to be the root cause engine, and we're going to leverage that capability across other tools within the portfolio. First and foremost use case that you see here is the ability to have a subset of inventory from Spectrum sent over to UIM through a global collection. So we create a common global collection the way we did it with the eHealth and Spectrum integration. We create a global collection, put in a bunch of devices in there. UIM picks up those devices and then creates performance profiles on those devices. So essentially what we did with eHealth and Spectrum integration, we're trying to replicate that with UIM as well. This is the part that I talked about, leveraging the root cause analysis capabilities within UIM. So what we have done is UIM now will consume the root cause alarms from Spectrum because Spectrum understands that. We have added capability through the integration in UIM where UIM will now understand which one is the root cause alarm and which one is the symptomatic alarm. And UIM will then go and suppress those alarms within UIM as well. So essentially the alarm suppression value that you would get in Spectrum, now you get in UIM as well without needing to change your console to the Spectrum OneClick. As I said, this was one of the key things that we wanted to drive right from the beginning. We talked about this at CA World as well, that there are a lot of UIM users today who don't want to go to OneClick to do their operations work just for the network alarms. There are a lot of Spectrum users who like OneClick and don't want to go to UIM to manage their server and virtualization alarms. So what we're trying to do with this work here in this integration is to show the alarms across both the tools in a similar way, the same alarms. So as a user, you will be able, as a Spectrum user rather, you will be able to see the server alarms, database alarms, the storage alarms within Spectrum. As a UIM user, you will be able to see the network alarms, the root cause alarms in UIM as well. While visualization is a great use case, unless you give the users the ability to do some update actions, it's not as much value adding. And that's what the users told us, the customers we've talked to told us. And that's what we did, that in addition to just visualizing each other alarm, we are allowing users to drive actions from either tool of their choice. So from Spectrum, you see a storage alarm, you know that storage alarm is a known alarm, nothing to worry about. You right-click, clear the alarm in Spectrum, that alarm gets cleared in UIM as well. You see a network alarm in UIM, you know that alarm is a known alarm, nothing to worry about. You right-click, clear that alarm, that gets cleared in Spectrum as well. You update the alarm, you add service desk ticket information, you add any other information. All that information about that alarm gets synchronized across both the tools, and hence you can use either of the tools of your choice for driving your workflows. As I said, this was one of the more coveted things that we wanted to get out to the market. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Jason drive us through a couple of those scenarios. Jason, all yours.
Sure, perfect. Thanks, Kiran. So I'm going to walk through two scenarios here as it pertains to the integration. Can you go ahead and make me presenter?
It's still showing passing presenter privileges to Jason, so I'm not sure it's taking a bit of time. So
there we go. Okay.
Oh, there you go. Yes, cool.
All right, so I'm going to walk through two components here. I just want to first and foremost show a little bit about the integration itself and what it looks like from the Spectrum Gateway Pro perspective. So I'm going to sign into the admin console here. And very similar to how we've done integrations before with either eHealth or CA Performance Management, where it's all driven from the global collection. So we would create a global collection in Spectrum. We would add our devices within that global collection, and then it would go ahead and sync that data into the underlying data source. So for instance, this instance, it would be, excuse me, UIM. And then we have the ability to control, right, how often it does it, you know, just syncing alarms, syncing inventory, all the interfaces get synced over as well. Oops. Obviously didn't like my credentials there. Here we go. And again, so I'll show you a little bit of the different control that we have within here. And then once we get through that, I will show you kind of how the alarming looks, right? So like Kieran mentioned as well, you know, if customers are used to using or have operational procedures written around using the alarming within UIM, we don't want to deter them for that, right? We don't want to necessarily shift their comfort zone into another product, but we still want to utilize the power of Spectrum from a root cause and fault suppression. So we want to be able to visualize the alarming data within UIM, right? And then also the ability to drill back into Spectrum directly from that, that alarm itself. So I scroll down here to the Spectrum Gateway Probe and click on Configure. So to show you briefly some of the options that we have here. So just, you know, the host name, the protocol, and then here's the important part, and here's where we specified the global collection, right? So this is the global collection in Spectrum that we would need to go ahead and add the inventory into, and then we'd go ahead and sync it over. And then on the bottom here as well, we have our inventory configuration, where how often we want to do our incremental synchronization. So by default, it's every 30 minutes. And then we're going to synchronize as well, full sync on alarms every hour with an incremental of every 30 seconds within here. And again, these are all user configurable based on your preference itself. So if I move over back to Spectrum, and let's make sure I'm in the right Spectrum environment. There we go. So I'm going to go to my Locator tab, and I'm going to look for any network device here. I'm going to add this device into my global collection. So as you remember from the other screen, right, this is the demo global collection that I specified within the Gateway Probe. I'm going to go ahead and add that into that collection. I can see here that those 3 devices are now in there. I had 2 already discovered in there before, and I'll show you the reason why. As I click back over into the probe configuration, instead of waiting for 30 minutes, because we don't have that kind of time, I'm going to go ahead and force this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just do an incremental synchronization now, which is simply just synchronizing update inventory now, or I can synchronize all inventory now. So it's starting the full sync from that global collection. As I click back over into my inventory environment, what I'm going to see here then is that additional device get added. All right, you almost missed it, right? It happened so quick. So here is that device that I just added to that global collection, and that synced the inventory over along with all interface information as well, right? So again, adding into the global collection, the synchronization there populates that inventory into UIM. That way I don't need to do subsequent discovery on the individual device. The second thing I wanted to show is if I look at this original device that I had in this collection, there's some, you know, thresholds that are here, right? And these are definite Spectrum-based thresholds, right, that you all know and love, right? High memory utilization, high CPU. Here's a Spectrum watch that's been configured within here. So as I can launch it directly from here, where I can right-click, and I can launch directly into the UIM UMP alarm view directly from here. And I already have that open, so let's see just from an expediency standpoint how fast this loads. My environment's a little slow, but this will bring me then in context to that direct device for that alarm. And essentially I just want to show you what the Spectrum alarm looks like within the UIM console. And then even while that's loading, let me show you something in Spectrum where we can actually show from, if I look at all my alarms that are here, and I look at the source, I can make an easy differentiation too on, you know, if it was a Spectrum-based alarm within here, or if it's something that came from the NAS, right? So an easy way to filter upon, you know, all just, you know, if I want to look at all my NAS-based alarms that came in, I can easily filter that within the Spectrum console. Okay. All right, so that brought me in context of that device. Here's my high memory utilization, my high CPU utilization, and then my watch threshold violation that were initiated from Spectrum. And then for any one of these 2. If I wanted to take action, I could launch a URL action, which is going to bring me back to the device view in Spectrum. All right, that was it, and I'll push it back to you, Karen.
Sure, thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. It was great, cool. So what I'm going to do is move to the next one. This is the excuse me. This is the other marquee item that we have been pushing for some time now. So this is monitoring SDN within Spectrum. And again, our motivation here has been similar to other technologies, that this SDN is an NFV is a newer technology out there in the market. How do we help our customers enable them to manage this within the same context, within the same tool, within the same topology, like they do other technologies? And then with that, we have been working with our peers within the SDN Gateway team. It's formally called as the VNA, Virtual Network Assurance team, which is our gateway into the SDN world, pulling data, pulling information from the SDN world, and then we leverage that information to get all the critical topology root cause as well as performance information into our tools from VNA. There are a couple of key use cases that we have been targeting as part of this capability. First and foremost, the ability to show the UI, the ability to show the topology in context of the physical to virtual entities within the SDN world. So what is the virtual overlay that you have within your environment? What are those NFVs on a particular compute node? More important than that, and I think we believe that's where our differentiator is to some extent as well, is the mapping of physical to virtual entities. So what virtual entities, what NFVs are hosted on which compute node, on which physical instance? So the ability to see the service chain, the actual virtual service that has been being offered to your customers, internal or external, the ability to see that within the topology, and more importantly, mapping that to your underlying compute node. So our approach towards this is you can look at a compute node and from there figure out how that maps to the service and then do any triage operations that you would want. Or you can start off from the service chain, the SFC if you will, and then drill down from there into the corresponding compute node as well that is supporting that particular service. So ability to do that triage, that management from both the directions. As with any other technology that we support, we have a new manager called as the SDN manager. We show the topology. We have some additional OneClick views. We have a bunch of correlation domains that we have created for SDN technology as well. So you get root cause analysis, alarm suppression in case of VMs going down or the compute nodes going down, and so on and so forth. So a full-fledged solution for newer technologies within the same console, within the same constructs of management that you have done for so many years with Spectrum. And again, I said I'll move it over to Jason to quickly run us through some of those SDN scenarios as well. It looks pretty amazing in one click actually. So Jason, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks again, Kieran. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think we have some subsequent sessions around our SDN capability. But what I will show is just kind of what Kieran kind of showed in the slide where. So here we have the Spectrum topology, right? And within our demo Spectrum environment, we have what we call our compute nodes, right? And then these are specifically our neutron networks that are coming in from OpenStack itself. So these are automatically populated via the integration, right? So if I look on the left-hand pane here under the SDN manager, as Kieran mentioned, right? So I have all of the inventory that gets brought in through our integration with the VNA solution. As I click into each one of these, let's say compute nodes, what I'm going to see here from a visualization standpoint is, and let me go ahead and change layout. What I'm going to see here is the physical ESX node that's within that environment, I'm going to see the virtual switch there for that OpenStack environment, and then I'm going to see each of the virtual machines that are underneath there as well. Now, as if I look at some of these virtual machines within here, I'm also going to see some examples of where I'm going to have some virtual network functions, right? So where I'm actually virtualizing, let's say firewalls, I'm virtualizing, here we go, virtual firewalls, virtual load balancers, and virtual, Citrix cache within here, specific to the environment we have loaded. Now again, independent of what I'm virtualizing within here, I'm going to see that representation here depicted by this icon, so I know that these are indeed, virtual network devices within my OpenStack environment. Now also from here, if I look at the spotlighting view, I can get my service chain function, right? So as we build out these different service chains, I want to build the ability to visualize these within my environment. So if I look here, for instance, and we have a couple mock ones that are put in here, it's going to go ahead and highlight, you can see in the background there, like any of the spotlighting that we do, it's going to show then the devices that are participating within this virtual network, or sorry, virtual service chain. And then if I scroll down, two of the new views that we have built in here is one is an SDN virtual overlay, right? So what this is going to give me is an overlay over my physical environment that shows what my actual, virtual devices are, my virtual overlay. And it shows me kind of the order that they go in, right? So from firewall to load balancer to cache within here. And that's what's really represented by the numbers that are in here. So that I can actually see where all these make their connections within this SDN environment. And then even a more simplistic view is to actually look at the SDN service. So the SDN service, again, is really just more of a logical depiction of what I was showing in that topology view. Here I can see from firewall to load balancer to cache, and it's also then giving me what the direction is, right? So if it was actually change or bi-directional, we'd be able to visualize that within here. So again, obviously the power being here is, Spectrum's been around for a long time managing very complex networks, right? Very complex physical networks. Now that we're embarking into more of this software-defined networking and more of this virtual network functions within our environment, we're able to utilize the same solution to look at both the physical as well as the virtual, without having a huge knowledge curve or a huge learning curve that we need within a new tool or new solution, but it's all visualized in the Spectrum that we know and love. All right, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to bring that back to you again, Karen.
Thanks, Jason. That was amazing. That topology looks huge. And you'll see there, as we will talk about the roadmap as well, there are a bunch of things that we are planning around that as well. So next one is the Spectrum support for WLCs and access points. Now, we've released this as part of 10.1, not necessarily 10.1.1, but the kind of amazing response that we have got for this capability, I think we felt it's necessary, it's needed that we expose it to a lot more users through a live demo. So just like SDN, I think wireless management came a bit earlier than SDN, but our philosophy there has been exactly the same. Today, customers use Cisco Prime, AirWatch, and some other tools to get their wireless notifications, events, alarms, and then push it to Spectrum for management. And our philosophy or thought process there has been, why would we want to do that? Why wouldn't we let users directly leverage Spectrum to natively manage those entities? Today, before this capability, customers did use Spectrum to manage these environments, but controllers and access points were monitored by Spectrum as vanilla network devices, like a Cisco device or a Juniper device. They didn't have the intelligence of a controller or the intelligence of an access point. That's what we are trying to do here. Now, when we started off with this, we wanted to make sure that all the key capabilities that Spectrum provides out of box, we give that anyway. So discovery of the devices, the controllers, the access points, the topology, the relationship between the controllers and access point, root cause, fault isolation, alarm suppression, all those good things that Spectrum brings to table. Obviously, they are expected. What we went a step ahead in this case was, I think we spent a lot of time trying to understand with customers, okay, what are those key problems that you would try to solve here? And a few of the users that we've been talking to came up with a couple of very consistent use cases and scenarios that suddenly once in a while, one of the access points starts performing badly. And after some time when you do a triage, a retrospective of that, what you realize is that suddenly the number of users on that access point was a lot higher than what you would wanted. So one of the things that we wanted to do was, how do we equip the users to control some of these situations as much as possible? So one of the things that we were trying to do was, okay, let's give users the ability to set thresholds on some of these things. The total number of access points that can connect to a controller. More importantly, the number of active users per access point. The amount of upload and download volume per user. So you can set a threshold that I don't want more than 25 users per access point. And if that number is breached, you get a notification and hopefully you can do something much in advance than all the 25, 30 users experience from a wireless network perspective getting impacted. So as I said, we wanted to make sure some of those use cases are taken care of out of the box within the product. One of the other things, of course, is that a new access point comes into the environment, you will be notified. An access point moves from controller 1 to controller 2, you will be notified. An access point disappears from a controller table, you will be notified. So all of these key scenarios that you would need to monitor your environment, you would be getting that information within the context of the WLC manager. One of the things before I hand it over to Jason for the demonstration is, you will get topology, you will get root cause, you will get all those things. So our goal again there was bring the wireless real estate within the same topology as the wired real estate, so that you can see that all that information within the same topology, and you see that within the same one-click views, and manage that a lot more consistently, easily, without switching tools just to manage a different new technology. And I'll let Jason amaze you with the demo for that.
Thanks, Kiran. So again, I'm back into my demo OneClick environment, and I have a small global collection that's set up just to kind of show some of the value around the wireless management. So first and foremost, we don't need to go out and discover all of the APs automatically, right? Or individually, I should say, right? By doing ping sweeps or anything like that. We can essentially just discover the wireless LAN controllers, and then from the controllers themselves, we have the ability to go out and then discover all the APs. So I guess before I get into this global collection, if I look at the wireless LAN controller, or the WLC manager, I should say, and look at the information tab, there's a simple configuration which really just gives us the ability to go out and run the access point discovery, right? This could be done post-discovery of the wireless LAN controllers, or this can be instantiated within your auto-discovery options as well, or I should say your modeling options as well. So this way we're continually going out and discovering these. Once it's discovered, Spectrum's going to go ahead and pull the wireless LAN controllers based on whatever specified polling level, and then it's going to go ahead and add in any new APs that it found, right? So any new ones that are there, it'll automatically go and add these into your environment. If the upstream switch or router is there, or device, that these access points connect to, it'll automatically model the connection up into its upstream device. So you'd run into a situation similar to this, where I have my wireless LAN controller here, where it makes its actual connection, and then each of the APs that are automatically discovered connect up into their upstream switch as well, so that I get that layer 2 connectivity. Obviously, the power of that, right, is to be able to understand the relationship and to suppress downstream events. So if I were to lose this device here, I wouldn't necessarily alarm on each one of these APs being down, because Spectrum's intelligent enough to know that that's symptomatic to a root cause. Now, as far as information goes, we do populate the actual AP with some asset information. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the component detail, I'm going to see just some basic information, what its location in, its VLAN group, its primary controller, serial numbers, connected users, etc. Right? So just some basic inventory on the individual APs themselves. If I click on the LAN controller, and let me undock this to get a little more real estate. And if I scroll down, there's 2 sub-components, and I'm going to go ahead and open these up, because it does take a little while to pull these in my simulated environment. But let me click on the lightweight access protocol one as well. And here's where we can get into the thresholding that Kieran was mentioning, right? So we can go ahead and set then, number of access points per controller, if that's a concern, number of mobile clients, access point users, and then we can also do it on per individual download and upload volume per user, right? So if I know I have a area where, if people are downloading large amounts, I'm going to run into some saturation or some issues, then I can limit or at least alarm based upon when I'm seeing a large amounts of volume or large amounts of download or upload. And the alarm itself is actually going to bring me down to the individual client that was having it, right? So once this client table opens up on the bottom, you'll be able to see kind of the information that we can gather. Even on the access point itself, I can get a listing of all APs that are associated to the different controllers. So I can see the name, the MAC address, and there's a bunch of just informational information around there. Ones that I found that were very important just dealing with customers are the models and the serial numbers, right? Wireless obviously is huge, and sometimes, can potentially be a nightmare to manage, especially from an asset management perspective. To clearly get a simple list of all my devices, what their serial numbers are, the firmware levels, the models across all that, is worth its weight in gold from an asset management perspective for all your access points that are within your environment within there. And like any one of these could be exported, it's simply like any of the any other Spectrum views, easy to export those out into various views. And even from a locator tab perspective, which I'll show in just a second, we have the capability to see reports from there as well. Now again, on the mobile stations, this is actually going to give me all of my users that are connected into each of the APs, what SSID they're connected to, the actual MAC address of the end user, the MAC address of the AP they're connected to, their status, etc. Right? So this helps tremendously with troubleshooting a user. If they're specifically connected in the wireless network, then I can find exactly where they're connected into, what AP, and diagnose here with any of the information that's presented within the subview. And the last but not least, like I mentioned, we provide some locator views here. So if I want to see all my access points within my environment, very easy to go ahead and display that information. I want to maybe see one access point associated to certain LAN controllers, or maybe I want to see all my wireless LAN controllers within an environment. So again, some very good asset management reporting that we can do directly just from the locator tab by selecting these and then exporting these out to CSV. With that, I'm going to push it back over to Kieran.
Thanks, Jason. This was great. Thanks so much. So, as I mean, this is one of those features that I think we are extremely happy with the feedback that we've got after it has gone GA. So it was not surprising because every organization has a wireless environment nowadays. Before I jump on to the next couple topics, I'm going to just take a few questions that were on the Q&A roster that we already answered, but for the benefit of others, I'm going to repeat those. So the first and foremost was the vendor support. So today with 10.11, whatever Jason demoed, it was Cisco support, and then the generic MIPS could discover a few other things as well, but not as detailed as Cisco. We are already starting to work on Aruba, and then we plan to do Ruckus as well. So these are our top 3 that we are currently looking at. And then, of course, based on need and requirements, we could add more as well. Just on the Q&A roster, we figured out Fortinet, and then we'll add to the list, review its adoption levels within our customer base, and absolutely line it up. The other interesting question was, would the access points be charged as device licenses? And I think we went a lot back and forth on this. You see access points are part of the topology, you get root cause, you get a lot of great information out there. But at the same time, we wanted to make sure that we are being reasonable with how we go ahead and price it. So 2 scenarios. The work that Jason showed right now does not necessarily need the access points to be SNMP enabled. Not everything requires SNMP enabled access points. So we get a lot of that information from the controller and then use our logic and capabilities in the backend to build that capability. If the access points are all SNMP enabled and Spectrum is pulling SNMP information directly, of course, each of the access points will be charged as a single device license. If we are not directly going to the access point through SNMP, but doing our own work through the controller, in that case, the access points will still be charged, but we have a sort of a ratio pricing for that. So every 4 access points will account for 1 device license in Spectrum. So I think there are a lot more details that your local account teams will be able to help you out with. But at a broad level, as I said, if there's no direct SNMP connectivity and if you're going only through the controller, then every 4 access points would be charged as 1 device license within Spectrum. So with that, I'm going to move to the next couple of things that we had in 10.1.1. I won't spend too much time on this, but one of the things that we have been focusing on working with a few customers, predominantly in Europe, is being, okay, how do we tighten up some of our capabilities with the VPN manager? So there are a different set of deployments that customers are going after that the VPN manager solution in the past with Spectrum did not support. So basically, the discovery is based on route targets, improving some of the performance scenarios where we had overlapping VPNs within a customer environment. So there are a few of these scenarios very well documented. As I said, I won't spend too much time on this, but we are trying to make sure that the solution is still relevant for some of these newer deployments that we have within the environment. The other thing is from an accessibility perspective. So essentially, we obviously have a lot of our federal customers who require some of these accessibility changes within the tool. But what we are realizing is more and more corporates and enterprises are being conscious of accessibility within their monitoring solutions as well. So we've taken some additional steps with 10.1.1 release. So first and foremost, we have the accessibility team again now. So essentially, you can switch between the OneClick as a normal team and then the accessibility team where you would need not necessarily rely only on colors. So for example, as you see here, what we have now with the accessibility teams is the status of that device being conveyed through an additional icon which tells you the state of that particular device. You don't just need to rely on colors. The same is applied at the container, at the roll-up condition as well, and a few other places. So while it might seem simplistic, I think there was a lot of actual manual effort to make some of these changes in the back end. And we're pretty proud of the changes that we have made in that accessibility area as well. I'll spend the next few minutes talking about what's coming up, and we will be working with Melanie and Melissa to schedule a roadmap session, most likely in the next 4 to 6 weeks, because we are at this point in the planning phase for the next release of Spectrum. Tentatively 10.2, and I'll talk briefly about that, but a detailed session on what is that content will schedule very soon. Before that, I'll just pause for a minute and see if anyone has any questions on the capabilities that we've just demoed. I know there is a lot of questions, and we are answering a lot of those on the Q&A roster as well. But if anyone wants to ask any questions through the phone, Amber, we could do that for the next couple of minutes before I get into the key themes. Okay, I take that as no question. So I'll move ahead. I'll move ahead. So what are we planning for the next release and the upcoming quarters for Spectrum? Again, a legal expects me to show this slide. It means that this is all in planning, and as a vendor, some of those things can move around based on our funding, resourcing, and priorities. So a couple of things we are considering, and this is all under consideration, right? First and foremost, web client. I know we delivered the web client. People like it, but there are a lot of things that we want to improve there with the web client. I reached out to the community. We got responses from a bunch of people. We're going to create sort of a working group of customers. A couple of things we're going to do there. While we add more configuration, more capabilities like adding new columns, adding user-defined attributes to the web client, the ability to sort. So a lot of those customizations that you can do in OneClick that we got feedback for, both at CA World and later, we're going to incorporate that. Additionally, what we're going to do is topology as well. So while Jason was doing the SDN demo, you saw that when the number of devices increases significantly, the OneClick starts showing devices as small dots, and then I think it's not as much useful with large number of devices. Since we are now moving to HTML5, what we are trying to do is leverage some of these newer technologies and redo the way we render topology for Spectrum. So I think we are being very aggressive with it. One of the things I said we are doing is, while we know what OneClick did and we could replicate it as is, we are taking it slightly differently, and we want to figure out, okay, given this is almost like unicorns and rainbows for us, that kind of a scenario with the web client, what is it that would be the ideal situation for the customers? And that's what we are trying to solicit as inputs. And based on that, we'll figure out what is technically feasible, what is practically doable, and go about from there. The other thing is, we will discuss the dynamic console at CA World and earlier as well, and later as well. We are trying to go and try to see if we can get it to fruition. We talked about Rollup and Aruba. That's something we're going to move around. We are going to concentrate a lot on our integrations. So we're going to further improve the UIM integration. We're going to further spend time for CAPM, CAPC improvements. With 10.0, we have 1 million models per Spectrum server scale. So that equates to anywhere between 10,000 to 15,000 devices. We are being aggressive there, and we want to get to 2 million and even 4 million scale, which will eventually effectively mean anywhere between 40,000 to 50,000 devices per Spectrum server. That's going to be huge. So as I said, at this point, we're still researching. We're trying to look at the feasibility, but that's where we are setting our bar. That's where we're setting our goals at. Of course, we're going to extend SDN, NFV. There are a lot of customer voted, community voted enhancements. We are evaluating the potential of having sort of a Spectrum Lite version that we can then offer to the smaller customers out there who don't need all the capabilities in Spectrum. So there are a lot of things that we are planning. As I said, in the coming 4 to 6 weeks, we will be setting up a roadmap session where we will run through all the key capabilities in detail, solicit your feedback. But based on what you see, if you are interested, want to participate in the beta, please reach out to us. We still have 3 to 4 minutes, and I know I think people would have other engagements as well. I'm going to give one last chance to see if anyone has any questions on the phone line.
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile your Q&A roster.
So while we take questions, Melanie, if you want to flash the poll, the survey, I think before people drop off, we would request them to take the poll, the survey.
Great idea. I just opened it up.
Thanks, Melanie. So if no more questions, I said we'll post the recording for this session. We will make sure that the Q&A roster is cleaned up and posted. The transcript of it is posted as well. Once again, thanks everyone for your time, and look out for the next webcast where we talk about the next series of spectrum and what are we planning to do with that. So I see no questions, no hands raised. So we'll probably give 2 minutes back. I'm sorry?
There are no audio questions at this time.
Do we have or we do not?
No, there are none right now. No audio questions.
Okay, sure. Okay, cool. Sure. So that's what we'll probably will give back 3 minutes to everyone from their days. Once again, thanks for joining. Thanks, Jason. That was an awesome demo. Appreciate your time and the demo. And I said, if you have questions, concerns, comments, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks. Have a great day, great evening. Bye-bye.
This concludes today's conference call.
Thank you.
Disconnect.